Good afternoon. Welcome to Today's Today on Friday the 16th of May. And just for you at home, here's our usual sneak preview of some of the great clips we have coming up in today's show.
At the World's Fair, magnificence piles on magnificence. Expert swimmers assembled for a water ballet weave decorative patterns in the huge bathing pool built for the fair.
I think that the diet in England is going to do you a lot of good. Doesn't
Yeah,
do me any
but-
good, I might tell you.
No.
But it's going to be good for you.
Well, I don't worry about it, but I worry about you a bit.
Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry.
All that and more to test the memories of two new teams. Let's meet them. First, we welcome Margaret Robert, who's an air stewardess from Crawley in West Sussex, and her brother-in-law Simon Stoner, a haulage contractor from Benfleet in Essex. And poised to take them on, we have Teresa Cullen, who's a safety advisor, and her nephew Martin Keane, a student teacher. Both of them are from Walsall in the West Midlands. And whoever wins the first part of today's contest will meet our reigning champions Steve Blood and Serge Singh in the second part of the programme, all of them playing for those magnificent round-the-world air tickets, drawing ever closer at the end of the series. Right, on with round one. Stop the clip. Fingers on buzzers, please. And we start with the report from today in 1983. What is this story? Start the clip.
When we came back, we saw this horrendous thing around the wheel that resembled something of a prehistoric boot. And we were quite surprised by it and came down here to pay the fine. The people were very nice to us inside.
Margaret and Simon?
Is it wheel clampings in London?
Yes, it was a report about the introduction of wheel clamps today in 1983. Let's see more.
Apparently, we have to go back to the car and wait for them to come and release the boot. I'm hoping that it's not going to take too long a time because we're on our honeymoon, and I certainly don't want to interrupt that.
The Americans would be used to that, and the reason he calls it the boot, of course, is that in America it's known as the Denver boot, the wheel clamp. Next, a report from today in 1995. What's being discussed here? Start the clip.
It's likely to be the longest planning inquiry in history. The outcome will affect air travel throughout Europe. Opponents say that BAA should make better use of Gatwick and Stansted airports.
It's a classic case of the economy versus the environment.
Margaret and Simon?
About the new terminal at Heathrow, Terminal 5.
Yes, well done. In fact, you'd have been deeply humiliated if you hadn't got that as an air hostess, wouldn't you? Today, 1995, saw the opening of a marathon public inquiry, Britain's biggest, into Heathrow's controversial proposed £1.2 billion Terminal 5. And that inquiry is still going on. Now, some music from the charts today in 1978. Can you name both the band and the song? And I do need both for a correct answer. Start the clip.
Now you step inside, but you don't.
Margaret and Simon?
Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing.
Yes, it reached number 8 in 1978. Let's have another burst.
We are the Sultans. We are the Sultans of Swing.
So at the end of round one, we find Teresa and Martin a little slow on the buzzer there, perhaps. Sitting there on 0, Margaret and Simon setting an early lead with 29. On to our TV round, a selection of classic programmes which were on the air on this very day in years gone by. Let's have 3 clips for Teresa and Martin first and see just what you make of these.
There you go, gently to the right. Come on, Panda.
I'm going round in circles now, aren't I?
Yeah, you're going round. You're not supposed to be. We want to go up there between these cones, look. Come on, you're driving. I'm just going to sit. That way we want to go. Left.
That way.
Left. I showed you how to do it. Just...
Panda.
That's right.
Left a bit.
Left.
And they're stopping now. Why are they stopping?
Because you can't drive.
Strikes me your situation is perfect. Well, as I said, I don't complain. I accept it. What more do you want of me, Fanny?
I want you to believe that you're a very fortunate young woman.
Oh, that is a great deal more. I'm not certain I could guarantee you that. You see, my situation gives me a certain freedom.
Then don't abuse it.
I shan't.
And to come across as a singer, you need to project warmth and good vibes. I mean, you're never going to hear Sing Along the Paisley coming over the radio, are you? Are you?
When Irish eyes are smiling!
Teresa and Martin, can you identify those clips? First one?
First one was taking on someone else's job for a day. What was it?
It was called In at the Deep End, way back in 1982. The second one?
Forsyth Saga?
No, it was The Golden Bowl from 1972. And the third?
Phil Cool.
Yes, Cool It, starring Phil Cool from 1988. Your point-scoring questions coming up. Paul Heine was in at the deep end. Which other former That's Life presenter featured in that series?
No.
It was Chris Searle. In which series did Pauline Quirk and Linda Robson also try out different occupations?
No.
It was Jobs for the Girls. Best known for his novels Washington Square and The Turn of the Screw, who wrote The Golden Bowl on which that series was based?
Henry.
Henry James.
Yeah,
you were
it was
almost
Henry,
there, not
yeah.
quite. Name the actress you saw in the clip who later played Vanessa Beaumont, one of JR's lovers in Dallas.
No, sorry.
No, Gail Honeycutt. You heard Phil Cool's rendition of When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, Ian Paisley style, of course. The song has been recorded by more conventional singers over the years, including which entertainer whose hits have included Jingle Bell Rock and You Need Hands?
Max Bygraves.
Correct. Yes, you're there. You're off.
We've beaten the two.
Right, we want lots more rounds of applause like that, or some more point scoring going on here. First seen in 1972, which ITV series starred impressionists Freddie Starr, Peter Goodright and others?
No.
No, it was called Who Do You Do? And with 3 clips coming up now to test the memories of Margaret and Simon.
Well,
oh, that's new.
Yeah, and I've just been playing it full blast.
It can't be very loud then, can
Yes,
it?
it was. You just must have a very clear conscience.
Hey?
You slept right through it. But for being a very good boy, I bought you a very good boy's present.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, Sharon, that's great.
Well, try it on then.
Well, this must have cost you an arm and a leg.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's great.
Good.
Thanks, Sharon.
That's all right.
Bye-bye, love. Bye-bye, happiness. Hello, loneliness. I think I'm gonna cry. Bye-bye, love. Bye-bye, sweet caress. Hello, emptiness. I feel like I could die. Bye-bye, my love, goodbye.
We've half-inched £1 million worth of Scorpion tank and have a strong suspicion it's nuclear. If he'd have pressed the wrong button in his search for the windscreen wipers, we'd have wiped out most of Wiltshire.
Margaret and Simon, can you identify those programmes just out of interest? First one?
That looked like an ancient episode of EastEnders.
It was indeed, from 1989. The second?
The Everly Brothers.
Correct, from 1968. And the third?
Citizen Smith.
Right, from 1979. Your point scoring coming up. Letitia Dean was Sharon in EastEnders, seen there with Nick Berry, who played Wixie. Last year, she starred as a switchboard operator in which TV drama series set in 1959?
Is it called Good Time Girls?
No, it was the Hello Girls. Former EastEnders actor Michael French left Albert Square to star in which futuristic drama series?
No, sorry.
Crime Traveller. What are the first names of the Everly Brothers?
Don and Phil.
Correct. The Everly Brothers were singing their UK hit Bye Bye Love, their first success from 1957. According to the title of their next hit, who were they endeavouring to wake up?
Little Susie.
Correct. Which political anthem formed the basis for the theme song to Citizen Smith?
The Red Flag.
Correct. Robert Lindsay played the title role in that comedy. In which later series set in London's snooker halls did he star with Paul McGann?
No, sorry, I don't know.
It was called Give Us a Break, and Teresa and Martin may well be thinking precisely that as they end round 2 on 5 points, with Margaret and Simon stretching their lead with 44. Round 3 is Famous Faces. On the video wall we have 4 years, and hiding behind each year, a well-known person in a classic clip from the Today's the Day archive. Teresa and Martin, your choice of year first.
1952, please.
1952.
The aspirations of the free world can certainly be summed up in one simple phrase: a secure peace. That is what we are after. We are going to win that objective exactly as we won the wartime's objective, through individual and collective sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, goodbye to you. Good luck to all.
General Dwight D. Eisenhower in London today in 1952, a few months before he became US President. What was his nickname?
Ike.
Ike is right. Margaret and Simon.
91?
1991.
Folks may ride on camels, but it ain't so easy for 'em to see out of a needle's eye. That's my comfort, and I hope I knows it. Thank you.
Miriam Margolyes in character today in 1991 as Mrs. Gamp from Dickens' Martin Chuzzlewit. In which television comedy series, also starring Rowan Atkinson, did she play the character Princess Maria?
Blackadder.
Yes, the original series of Blackadder. Teresa and Martin.
1948.
1948.
Tell me, I think that the diet in England is going to do you a lot of good. Doesn't
Yes,
do me any
but-
good, I might tell you.
No?
But it's going to be good for you?
Well, I don't worry about it, but I worry about you a bit.
Well, thank
Yes?
you very much, and please go on worrying.
The Swedish-born actress, wearing no makeup, yet looking lovelier than Hollywood has pictured her, has come over here to star in a British film.
Alfred Hitchcock and Ingrid Bergman in Britain today in 1948. She starred as a nurse opposite Gregory Peck in which Hitchcock film set in a mental institution?
Go on quickly.
No.
No, sorry.
Offer it to Margaret and Simon?
No.
No, sorry.
It was Spellbound, and Margaret and Simon, you were left with 1986.
The spider escaped today.
Yeah?
And I saw the news just before I come on, and they said there's this tarantula escaped. And the police are looking for it. I thought, gee, if there's any Australians here, they'll eat it.
Paul Hogan talking about the difference between Australians and the British today in 1986. That same year, he starred as Crocodile Dundee, an Australian experiencing culture shock in which American city?
New York.
Correct. So, at the end of round 3, Teresa and Martin on 10, Margaret and Simon, 54. Right, fingers back on buzzers, please, for the round which can decide who goes on to this afternoon's final and who goes home. 5 points for every question. Time for our quick-fire playoff. Born today in 1919, which flamboyant pianist once used the stage name Margaret and Simon?
Liberace.
Yes, he once used the stage name Walter Buster Keys, believe it or not. Today in 1763, who met his future biographer James Boswell in a London bookshop? Teresa and Martin?
Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Samuel Johnson is right. What is Dr. Johnson's famous quotation, the most often heard tribute to London? Margaret and Simon.
When you're tired of London, you're tired of life.
Yes. Born today in 1905, who wrote the novel The Darling Buds of May? Margaret and Simon.
H.E. Bates.
Correct. Who played Ma Larkin in the 90s TV adaptation of The Darling Buds of May? Teresa and Martin.
Pam Ferris.
Correct. Today in 1968, which Manchester United player was named Footballer of the Year? Margaret and Simon.
George Best.
Correct. In which city was George Best born? Margaret and Simon.
Belfast.
Correct. Born today in 1905, who starred in the films The Grapes of Wrath? Margaret and Simon.
Henry Fonda.
Yes, and 12 Angry Men was another film he starred in. In which film did Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn star? Margaret and Simon.
On Golden Pond.
Yes, they starred as a retired professor and his wife, well interrupted. Today in 1929, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences presented their first awards, later called Oscars. Famous for his swashbuckling roles, who was the Academy's first president? Teresa and Martin.
Errol Flynn.
No. Offer it to Margaret and Simon.
Douglas Fairbanks?
Yes, Douglas Fairbanks Sr., the best film that year being All Quiet on the Western Front. Earlier this year, 9 Oscars were awarded to The English Patient, a record for a British film. Which film held the previous British record of 8 Oscars? Margaret and Simon.
4 Weddings and a Funeral.
No. Offer it to Teresa and Martin.
Gandhi.
Yes, Gandhi in 1982. Today in 1990, the creator of The Muppets died. Who was he? Margaret and Simon.
Jim Henson.
Unison and correct. In which regular feature of The Muppet Show did we meet... I'll finish the question. In which regular feature of The Muppet Show did we meet the evil Dr. Julius Strangepork battling with Captain Link? Margaret and Simon?
Pigs in Space?
Yes, it was. Pigs in Space, in which Dr. Julius Strangepork battled with Captain Link Hogthrob and the crew of the starship Swinetrek. So, with the scores at 25 points for Teresa and Martin and a mighty 104 for Margaret and Simon, that's the end of our quickfire playoff. Extremely well done, Margaret and Simon. You were very fast off the mark there on the buzzer. It means that you've made it through to the South Indians final in just a few moments, but alas, we have to say goodbye to Teresa and Martin. But you don't leave empty-handed, because I have here our consolation prize of newspapers printed and published on the very days that you were born. And Teresa, on the day you were born, a new colonel was appointed to the Grenadier Guards. However, this was a brass hat with a difference. She was Princess Elizabeth, whose appointment had just received the approval of her father. The young soldier was reported to be honoured by her new position.
Thank you.
And Martin, on your birthday, the Queen was riding high in Jaipur in India. She entered the city on a 15-foot elephant, which carried a dark blue royal standard embroidered with an E. When the 6-ton pachyderm sunk gently to its knees to let the monarch dismount, she looked decidedly relieved. Although she kept smiling, it was clear that the corgi's position as top royal pet was not in jeopardy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At which point we'll take a short break here in the studio to give you at home a chance to win a pair of round-the-world air tickets.
They're the Elgin marbles, parts of a 5th century frieze. In 1802, they were stripped from the walls and shipped to England by Thomas Bruce, the then Lord Elgin.
Controversy surrounding the Elgin marbles in the news today in 1983. From which country were the ancient sculptures taken? Was it A, Greece, B, Egypt, or C, Italy? If you know the answer, ring 0891 339900. One winner, selected at random from the right answers, can choose the latest electronic personal organiser or a colour television. 5 runners-up win a copy of the Today's the Day book. They all get a chance to compete for our grand prize, a pair of round-the-world air tickets. That's 0891 339900, and the lines stay open until midnight. And the answer to yesterday's question, Michelle Gale played Hattie Tavernier in EastEnders.
And of course, we'll give you that question and the phone number again, as usual, right at the end of the programme. Let's welcome back now our reigning champions from yesterday, from Kent, Serge Singh and Steve Blood. Straight onto our video wall, 8 clips here, some more difficult to answer questions about than others, so you do have a choice. As you can see, the clips are worth 5, 10 or 15 points. And it's our challengers, Margaret and Simon, who have first crack at the wall.
Middle right?
Middle right for 10 points.
At the World's Fair, magnificence piles on magnificence. Expert swimmers assembled for a water ballet weave decorative patterns in the huge bathing pool built for the fair. It's called an aqua cave, and the strokes of the swimmers take the place of dancing steps. Perfect unison and perfect rhythm.
Fun afloat today in 1939. For 10 points, in which year did synchronised swimming become a competitive Olympic sport?
94? 94?
No, offer it to Surgeon Steve.
84.
Yes, 84 at the Los Angeles Games, and it's your choice.
Bottom right, please.
Bottom right for 15 points.
Britain's Nick Faldo has made a spectacular return to European golf. In his first tournament here since winning the US Masters, Faldo hit a hole-in-one at the 13th during the Benson & Hedges International at the Oxfordshire course.
Nick Faldo nailing one today in 1996. For 15 points, in the mid-80s, Faldo took time out to improve his swing under the direction of which professional golfing coach?
David Leadbeater.
Yes, David Leadbeater. And Margaret and Simon, your choice.
Bottom left.
Bottom left for 15 points.
There are 233 letters, all on gilt-edged notepaper, as you'd expect from an emperor writing to a viceroy. Napoleon's own writing is so bad, as seen in this note, written when he was 22, that historians still sigh with relief that he did use secretaries.
An emperor's mail going under the hammer today in 1978. One of Napoleon's greatest victories was at a battle which took place in 1805 in what is now the Czech Republic. For 15 points, name that battle.
Battle of Prague? No.
Nope, offer it to Surgeon Steve.
Was it Osterrig?
No, you're not quite there, I'm afraid. It was the Battle of Austerlitz. The Battle of Austerlitz, where he defeated almost 90,000 Russian and Austrian troops, and it's your choice.
Middle left, please.
Middle left for 10 points.
A portrait by Vincent van Gogh has sent a new world record price of almost £50 million at an auction in New York.
At $75 million. For you, sir, $75 million.
The portrait of Dr. Gachet is considered one of Van Gogh's most powerful psychological studies. It was bought for a Japanese art gallery. The previous highest auction price, £30 million, was for another Van Gogh, the Irises.
Vincent van Gogh setting another world record today in 1990. For 10 points, what was the name of his brother?
Henry.
No, offer it to Margaret and Simon.
Willem?
No, it was Theo. Theo van Gogh. Margaret and Simon, your choice.
Top middle?
Top middle for 10 points.
Should gay priests resign?
Why should you live in a palace?
Ark 2, named after Noah's Ark, promises to address the moral and spiritual issues of our time on cable TV, with programmes from drama to dance. Its £8 million running costs will come from donations, sponsors and cable subscriptions. Its founders say the few religious programmes on existing channels play too safe.
Born again through the small screen today in 1995. 1 year earlier, an American television evangelist was released from prison after serving 4.5 years for fraud. For 10 points, can you name him?
No, I can't think.
Yeah, sorry.
Offer it to Surgeon Steve.
Sorry.
It was Jim Baker. Jim Baker. Surgeon Steve.
Top left, please.
Top left for 5 points.
A young woman has changed the dress ideas, the outlook on clothes of the new generation throughout the Western world, Mary Quant. The artist in her sensed that millions of young girls longed for something entirely different. She turned her designs into clothes. They quickly caught on, not only in this country, but in many others. Her flair for design met with almost instant success. And without intending to, she soon became a one-woman export drive.
A profile of Mary Quant today in 1966. For 5 points, what symbol is her trademark?
The Q.
No, offer it to Margaret and Simon.
It's like a 3-ring flower.
Yes, a flower, a daisy in fact. And your choice?
Bottom middle.
Bottom middle for 10 points.
Back in the 60s, as cinemas began their long decline, bingo. Out went the cry, eyes down, for a new craze. A numbers game that at one point was attracting 5 million people each week into converted cinemas and seaside stalls. The attraction was fun, companionship, and just a chance that your number on your ticket would produce a jackpot prize.
Bingo celebrating its 25th birthday today in 1986. For 10 points, which number is represented by the bingo call Brighton Line?
Number 9?
No, offer it to Surgeon Steve.
5 and 9?
Yes, 5 and 9, 59, the Brighton Line. And Surgeon Steve, you're left with top right for 5 points.
Snowy has had the free run of Brunel's magnificent station for the past year. But his search for a high-speed love life has frequently led him into trouble. British rail workers have now settled on a drastic solution. They've begun a collection to pay for Snowy to be neutered. But as he sets off in search of new romantic adventures, Snowy clearly has no idea of the plans his guardians are making for the end of this amorous tale.
Snowy the Lovelorn Cat today in 1986. For 5 points, what breed of cat is the only one born without a tail?
Manx.
The Manx cat is right. So at the end of that round we find Margaret and Simon surprisingly on just 5, while Surgeon Steve have forged ahead with 40. So to our final round. Time to beat the clock. 60 seconds of questions about May the 16th, but only one team member can play, and reigning champions have to take it in turns. So, Serge, that means you are in the hot seat. Let's go. 60 seconds starting now. Today in 1996, a rose called Madam Speaker was unveiled in honour of the Speaker of the House of Commons. Name her.
Betty Boothroyd.
Correct. Born today in 1916, which Canadian broadcaster was married to Barbara Kelly?
Pass.
Bernard Braden. Today in 1955, the film The Dam Busters was premiered. Who portrayed bouncing bomb designer Barnes Wallis?
Pass.
Michael Redgrave. Today in 1892, tenor Richard Tauber was born. In which country?
Switzerland.
No, Austria. Today in 1990, which Scottish-born actor met President Menem of Argentina while filming Highlander 2?
Sean Connery.
Correct. On TV today in 1974, which future Taggart star was playing the title role in the drama series Sam?
Pass.
Mark McManus. Celebrating a birthday today, which former Russian gymnast was 17 when she took part?
Kovic.
Correct. On the London stage today in 1956, Margaret Lockwood was starring in the thriller Spider's Web. Who wrote it?
Agatha Christie.
Correct. Today in 1911, which king unveiled the Queen Victoria Memorial opposite Buckingham Palace?
King George VI.
No, the 5th. Born today in 1936, which comedian starred as I'll finish the question. Which comedian starred as John Parry in the TV drama series Common as Muck?
Pass.
It was Roy Hudd. Now, Margaret, 75 points to catch up. Your target to beat, 80. Let's go. 60 seconds starting now. Born today in 1951, which actor currently plays James Bond?
Pierce Brosnan.
Correct. Today in 1965, Harold Macmillan met the widow of John F. Kennedy. Name her.
Jackie Kennedy.
Correct. Today in 1963, the film Murder at the Gallop was in cinemas. Who starred as Miss Marple?
Pass.
Margaret Rutherford. Born today in 1913, Woody Herman was famous for playing the saxophone and which other instrument?
Clarinet.
Correct. Today in 1994, memorial service took place for which cricket commentator and Down Your Way presenter?
Johnson.
Brian Johnson's right. Today in 1960, the Royal Variety performance was televised for the first time. Name the compere who announced I'm in charge.
Bruce Forsyth.
Correct. Today in 1974, President Richard Nixon said he wouldn't resign. What was his middle name?
Milhouse.
Correct. Which entertainer who died today in 1990 joined Frank Sinatra for their hit song Me and My Shadow? Sammy Davis Jr. Today in 1971, the comedy How the Other Half Loves was on the London stage. Who wrote it?
Akeborn.
Correct. Born today in 1763, French chemist Nicolas Louis Vauquelin discovered which element with... I'll finish the question. He discovered which element with the symbol Cr?
Krypton.
No, it was chromium. Jolly bad luck, all hanging on the last question there. Margaret and Simon, you've ended our contest with an extremely creditable 75, considering how relatively badly you did in the previous round. Serge and Steve, you've done it again. Our victors with 80. So, Serge and Steve, another close call for you. That means that you stay our reigning champions. We'll see you both again on Monday, but we have to say goodbye to Margaret and Simon. You leave with our special consolation prizes, Today's the Day books and newspapers published on the days that you were born.